Money was tight, bills were piling up, my agent wasn't calling. So when the opportunity for a temporary job came up, I jumped at it. It was a caretaker position at a remote workshop, way out in the middle of nowhere. The pay was surprisingly good, almost too good. But hey, a job's a job, right? The voice on the phone was gruff, barely a whisper. He gave me directions, a long list of turns and landmarks. He emphasized the isolation, the lack of cell service. Didn't matter. Desperate times. I packed a bag, threw some essentials in my car, and set off. The drive was long and uneventful. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the winding road. The further I drove, the more isolated it became. The trees pressed closer, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out towards me. The silence was broken only by the hum of my engine. Just as the last sliver of sun dipped below the horizon, I saw it. A ramshackle building, barely more than a shed, perched precariously on the edge of a clearing. A shiver ran down my spine. I had a bad feeling about this. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and pine needles. I got out of the car, my footsteps echoing in the stillness. The only light came from a single bare bulb hanging above the workshop door. I approached cautiously, my hand hovering over the rusted handle. As I stepped inside, the door creaked shut behind me. The air inside was heavy and stale, thick with the smell of sawdust and something else, something metallic and vaguely sweet. The workshop was dimly lit, cluttered with tools and strange, unrecognizable machinery. Cobwebs hung from every corner and dust covered everything. It felt abandoned, forgotten. I called out, my voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Hello? Anyone here?" There was no answer, only the sound of my own breathing. I started to unpack my things, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease in the pit of my stomach. The silence was broken by the sound of something moving in the shadows. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. A pair of eyes glinted in the darkness. I took a step back, my hand reaching for the door. "You must be Neil." The voice came from the shadows, raspy and low. A figure emerged, tall and gaunt, his face hidden in the gloom. He stepped into the light, revealing a man with a gaunt face, his eyes dark and intense. "Travis," he said, extending a hand. His grip was surprisingly strong, his skin cold and clammy. "I'm the foreman here." His smile didn't reach his eyes. Travis showed me around the workshop, his voice a low monotone. He explained the machinery, the tools, the tasks I would be responsible for, but his words seemed to wash over me. I was too distracted by the way he moved, like a predator sizing up its prey. He never seemed to blink, his eyes constantly scanning my face. He smelled faintly of chemicals, a sharp, acrid scent that stung my nostrils. I tried to focus on his words, to appear engaged, but fear coiled tight in my gut. Over the next few days, I settled into a routine. I cleaned, I organized, I familiarized myself with the tools. But the feeling of unease never left me. Travis was a constant presence, watching my every move. At night, I lay awake in the small room above the workshop, listening to the sounds of the building creaking and groaning around me. Sometimes, I would hear whispers, faint and indistinct, coming from the workshop below. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind, but the hairs on the back of my neck would stand on end. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of my vision. I started seeing things, fleeting glimpses of movement that vanished when I turned my head. One morning I woke up to find a strange symbol carved into the wooden floor of my room. It was a circle with a dot in the center, crudely etched into the wood. My blood ran cold. I had seen that symbol before on one of the machines in the workshop, a machine that Travis had warned me never to touch. That night, I couldn't sleep. The whispers seemed louder than ever, closer. I lay in the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest, every creak of the floorboard sending a jolt of fear through me. Then, I heard it, a thud from the workshop below, followed by a muffled cry. Panic surged through me. I scrambled out of bed and crept to the top of the stairs. The door to the workshop was ajar, a sliver of light spilling out into the darkness. Holding my breath, I peered inside. Travis was standing over one of the machines, his back to me. He was chanting under his breath, his voice low and guttural. The air was thick with the smell of blood and that same cloying chemical scent. I had to get out of there. I didn't wait to see what he was doing. I turned and fled, racing through the darkness, my lungs burning. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking, and finally managed to get the engine started. As I sped away, I could have sworn I saw Travis standing in the doorway of the workshop, his eyes glowing in the darkness. It's been months since I left that place, but the fear lingers. I still have nightmares about Travis, about the whispers, about the symbol carved into the floor. I can still smell the blood and chemicals, the stench of that place clinging to me like a curse. I don't know what Travis was doing in that workshop, but I know one thing: I never want to find out.